My name is RXA Ross, and I'm a fourth grade teacher here. This is my second year at Southern Avenue Charter Elementary School. I have 21 children in my homeroom, but I see 65 students. And we were noticing that the children, we were having behavior issues because the students aren't with us 24 hours, all the time. They change classes. So I was trying to find an issue that was universal, that I could use throughout all the teachers. And using the parent points was very effective for me. I found out the ways that worked for me is I got a clear protector sheet that they kept in their homework folder. And I gave them their World Bank card, and they could earn the points, PowerPoints tenders of different amounts based on what they needed to, what their goals were. Now, when I first came in, I could focus on some of the issues that were more of a struggle for them. And a lot of it was them being kind to each other, doing something to help each other, as well as getting lined up quickly, doing what I've asked, like what books I've had out on their desk. So what I started doing is they noticed that when they were kind to each other or when they were helpful to each other, that they got higher amounts. And when they were doing what they were asked to do in a timely manner, that I would go and the first students in line would get money. And what I ended up doing is I had before this a treasure box that was like a punch card. But what wasn't effective about that was that I couldn't set what each thing was amounted, like worth. Whereas this I could say, you doing what you were told would be $5 versus if you were kind to someone else, you'd get $20. And so it kind of put in effect the meaningfulness of the goals that we had and the things that they were struggling with. I set different amounts, and they just loved the shopping days that we would have, the spending days. And they would do a great job of keeping up with their World Bank. They would have to put the amount, do a deposit, and then write the balance. And this was a struggle for them at first, but once they got a hold of it and the hang of it, they could very easily keep up with the amounts, adding, subtracting, money amounts with decimals, which is a fourth grade skill, TCAP skill. So it was great for them to have that, and they did a very good job of keeping up with their money because it was their tender, because it was important to them. I found it to be very effective and important for them to learn about the value of doing something that they were told and being kind to each other. And, they often went home to their parents and talked to their parents about it, and the parents would come up to me saying that they've noticed a difference with their child at home. It's created a kinder classroom. I felt like because we had a lot of new students entering this year, and a lot of these students have been they act like brothers and sisters because they've been with each other for so long over the years. They've been kindergarten, first, second, and by the time they get to fourth grade, they're very close. So when you added a new mix of students who are not used to that, it kind of created we weren't cohesive, and I felt like the PowerPoint kind of helped them to know that they really did need to be kind to each other, and that Southern Avenue has a certain set of goals and rules that they have to follow. And it really got the new students in line with knowing what communication for the parents at home, to know what their child is doing. Because they also kept their conduct card in this packet too. So when their parents were signing their daily conduct card, they were also able to see what they have, what their World Bank said, and they were able to see what their child has done, because they had to also describe how they got the money. So if they were being kind to one another, put helping, I told them to be very specific on why you got the money. So the parents were able to see what their child was doing and what were they doing. Every time I would pick them up in the morning, I would have my envelope. I had my own little orange envelope that I kept the tender in, and when they were doing what they should have, I just started handing it out, and it was immediately they all were lined up, or they all were in chat. I felt like they were better with other teachers away from me, because they knew that if another teacher had praised them, then they would get something, or librarian. They would get. I had one child who at the beginning of the year, I had to call his mom in the first week. He was a new student to our school, and he ended up with the most points, which was a huge, and that's how I could tell I felt like it served a lot of the students with benefits were the ones that you wouldn't normally be your ideal behavior, the student that was making all E's in conduct excellent in conduct and work habits. It was those students that were maybe struggling before this. And then they realized, wow, if I do this, and it really got one of my students on track. He was calling other students names, and I had to call his mom for the first week, and I kept thinking, I thought, oh, the student is going to be giving me problems this year. But in the end, he ended up being one of my favorite students, along with Miss Knox. We just loved him because he realized what we expected at the school, and he was very appreciative of being acknowledged, because this is a way of acknowledging the students that you see the good they're doing, and you see that you appreciate them doing what's being asked. I noticed for this one student, his mom had said that she noticed even a huge jump in his academic because he was able to focus and do what, because he didn't so much worry about it being a conduct or worried about the other students in the classroom. He was more concerned with himself and getting what he needed to get done and being able to focus more on his academic work. And she noticed a huge difference in him academically, on how far he had come. Even his writing. When we first had him, his penmanship, I couldn't even read it. And he did not know how to write in cursive, which is something that we do teach here at Southern Avenue. And his cursive even had hugely improved. So you think, wow, they just earned so much. And you'll notice instant behavior improvement. Definitely, they understood decimals before the math teacher got to them, because they were doing it all year, and decimals is something we teach in the second semester right before kickoff. And so she noticed that they caught on to decimals and money and adding and subtracting, and even the wording of deposit, withdraw, because a lot of that is in word problems. It says, so-and-so has this much money, they want to buy this, how much money do they have left? Well, that's a lot of what's on their test, and so when you're doing that from the very early on, and they're kind of like, you kind of put it on them. And most students, you can't just say like, here's your money, write it down. I was amazed that even my students who were previously failing math could just catch on to this right away, because it was something personal to them. And they knew they had to keep up with their money. So they were able to add it. And they knew that Ms. Ross went back and checked it. Because I went back and checked their adding and subtracting. So they caught on very quickly, and the math teacher noticed the difference. What we ended up using is the Dear Parent Caregiver letter. Ended up sending that home, and it was a great resource for the parents to understand what we were doing at school and to explain a little bit more about what's happening. And it also came with, I felt, was very important tips to support your child. And some things that the students had goals that they had, the parents were able to see ways that they could help at home to reach their child's expectations of what they had in school, and how that correlates with what happens at home. Some great things on there, different character awards based on what their goals were, whether that was respecting other students, which was one of the lessons that a lot of my students had, as well as being honest and truthful. I only had a few students that were struggling with that at 4th grade. And then always doing homework. I had several students. But what we did at the end of each 9 weeks, and we're about to do since the end of the year, is we have our end of the year party, and we're going to have the Proclamation of Character Award. And what this is like a certificate for them so that they can appreciate what things have they improved on, such as they received their Proclamation Character Award on being respectful to others or cooperating. So all I did was check which goals they received, and then they get this award, and they take a lot of pride in this. And several of the students want to laminate it, so I go and laminate it for them. And I would highly recommend it. This is my 5th year teaching. And I think as a new teacher especially, you don't have the resources, or maybe you don't know where to go to figure out what works. And this is already done for you. All you have to do is just modify it to fit your needs. So there were like a few things that I had to modify. Instead of using the folders, we used the packets, or it was just very easily modified to what I needed. I already had everything prepared already for me. I didn't have to run copies, didn't have to create my own money or my own reward system. I didn't have to go out and buy things for, like I would have to go buy, it looked like a treasure box. I have to go buy the packets of sheets of paper. Well, this I don't have to buy anything.